When we talk about forest and forest trees, we are not just discussing vegetation. We are exploring the living infrastructure that sustains biodiversity, climate balance, and human survival. I am Dr. Onyekachi Chukwu. I will be taking you on this class with special emphasis on forests and forest trees. Kindly subscribe to this channel if you have not done before, so that you can always get notification whenever I post a new video. Let's look at the outlines. We'll be discussing under the following outline: forests and its classification, classification of forest trees. Forest and its classification. A forest is an area of land dominated by trees. Though several definitions of a forest exist, according to Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO), they defined a forest as a land with trees, canopy cover of more than 10%, and an area of more than 0.5 hectare, and not primarily used for agriculture or urban development. So you can see that beyond the trees, it's talking about area cover, and it's also talking about land use. Forests are determined by both the presence of trees and the absence of other predominant land uses, such as agriculture, urban development, and so on. Let's look at the classification of forests. Forests generally are classified based on their origin and their climates. Looking at the picture on your screen, you can actually see that the forest we are talking about here, we're talking about classification based on origin. If we want to classify forests based on origin, then we have the natural and the artificial forest. The artificial forest is also called the plantation forest. Now, looking at the natural forests are developed without human intervention or with minimal human intervention. They contain diverse species and complex structures, such as the canopy, understory, forest floor. So when you go to a natural forest, you see diverse trees of different species. You see trees of different heights. You see trees of different shape of the canopy. You see trees of diverse in all spheres. Usually, of course, natural forests are self-sustaining and are regulated by natural processes. So the natural processes regulate natural forests. So based on this lecture, this is an introductory lecture, and in my subsequent video, we're going to be talking more in depth. We'll be diving in depth on the characteristics of a natural forest. So let's check the other classification of forests based on origin. Based on origin, we have plantation. In some literature, you will also see it as an artificial forest. As the name implies, artificial is established through planting or seeding by human. So that means it's propagated usually through human intervention. Usually they are monocultural with low species diversity. So most plantations are just one species, and at times 2 or just 3 species. So like the picture on your screen, on the slide, is the picture of a teak plantation. That's why we say it's monoculture, because it's just one species, sometimes two species, but they are not planted, they are not interplanted, and that's why it's called a plantation with just very, very low diversity. They are managed specifically for specific purpose, sometimes for timber production, like most teak plantations, sometimes for paper production, like most melina plantations, for carbon sequestration. Maybe it's a forest that is just kept to be sequestering carbon. Okay, they are less resistant to pests because they are monocultures. They are just one species. If there is a disease that affects that particular species, there is every tendency that that disease will wipe off the whole plantation, will affect the whole plantation. So they are less resistant to pests compared to the natural forest, where you have diverse trees, whereby if a pest is affecting a particular species, that pest might not be efficient or might not affect the other species, or the other adjacent species might also have something or might be exudating something that will affect the pest. Okay, and of course climate change could also affect it. At times when you come to a plantation where they shed their leaves during unfavorable condition, you find out that all the leaves are gone, leaving litters everywhere. For instance, the Tectona grandis plantation in the College of Postgraduate and the Azikiwe University is an example of an artificial forest. So let's look at classification, the second form of classification based on the climate. Based on the climate, we have first the tropical forest, and we have the temperate forest. So let's look at the tropical forest. The tropical forests were gotten, these are forests that fall within areas that are close to the equator. For instance, Nigeria is within the tropical region, and the word tropics, they are part of the earth that lies between latitude 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degrees south of the equator. This kind of forests, they are usually they have high temperature, between 20 to 30 degrees centigrade. They usually experience heavy rainfall. Okay, and the tropical forests are divided into two. We have the tropical rainforest, usually is also called the evergreen forest, and we have the tropical dry forest. The tropical rainforest, as the name implies, it's a rainforest. It's usually dense, it's evergreen, meaning that all year round it's green. It has rich diversity, it has broad leaves. Okay, so it's a characteristics of the tropical dry rainforest. Some literature will call it tropical wet forest. Okay, then we have the tropical dry forest. They have seasonal rainfalls. The trees shed their leaves in dry season. Now let's look at the second classification, the classification under climate, which is the temperate. So if you check the temperate found in the mid latitude, usually, for example, the North America, the Europe, the Asia, they have moderate temperature with distinct seasons. Okay, actually, and adequate rainfall. They are also subdivided into two types. We have the deciduous forest with trees like oaks and maples, which shade their leaves during the winter. And we have the evergreen coniferous forest that is usually dominated by pine and redwood trees. When you hear the word coniferous, it's from cone. Those are trees that their crown usually look like a cone, like Christmas trees, Pinus caribea, and so on and so forth. Now, let's go to the classification of forest trees. We've talked about the forest itself, saying that the forest is classified based on their origin and based on the climate. Let's look at the trees itself, because from the definition of forest, we find out that tree is the major constituent of a forest. So let's look at trees. Botanically, forest trees fall into two main groups. Botanically, the Gymnosperms, that is called the coniferous or conifers and other cone-bearing plants. We'll talk about cone, and the Angiosperm, which are usually termed as flowering plants. The Gymnosperms consist extensively of trees and woody shrubs, whereas the Angiosperms are diverse groups of plants that include trees, shrubs, as well as grasses and herbaceous plants. So let's dive in further. Let's look at these Gymnosperms. Gymnosperms are vascular plants that produces their reproductions are by the means of exposed seed or oval or flowering plant. So mostly the Gymnosperms are plants or trees in which their seeds are usually exposed. Okay, their seeds are enclosed by matured ovaries or fruits. This is according to Encyclopedia Britannica 2025. The seeds of Gymnosperms are born in cones where they develop naked or exposed. So we're still talking of the exposure. Some literature call them naked seeds. But worthy to note is that numerous forest trees that are in this classification are conifers, and from the word conifer, they have cone-shaped crowns, and mostly they are known as softwood with needle-like leaf. You see their leaves are needle-like, they look like needles. Okay, this group includes like the pines, the spruce, the figs, the cedars, and so on and so forth. So sometimes they are called, when you see a forest that is dominated by this type of trees, they are called coniferous forests. Gymnosperms are usually mostly evergreen because they look the same all year round. Now let's look at Angiosperms. Angiosperms in itself, Angiosperms consists of the Angiosperm constitutes the dominant life or plant life in our present year. Now, the Angiosperm develops seed within their ovaries, okay, unlike the Gymnosperm that their seeds are usually naked, okay, within the ovaries of the flowers, which matures into fruits that protects the seed. This group include a large variety of broad-leaf trees, like the Gymnosperm. We said they are needle-like trees. Mostly they are needle-like. These ones have broad leaf, and mostly they are deciduous in nature, and they are also evergreen. You can also find evergreen. So they are divided. The Angiosperms are divided into two. We have the Monocots and the Dicots. I don't know, we used to call them Monocotyledons and Dicotyledons, okay, biologically. So the Monocots or Dicots are terms that are referred to the number of cotyledon or embryonic leaf found in a seed. So let's move further. Let's look at the Monocots. The Monocots, which are usually called Monocotyledons in terms of plants, are flowering plants with an embryo that bears a single cotyledon. That is, they have a seed leaf, a single seed leaf. For instance, the palms, like the date palm, the oil palm, and so on, the bamboos falls under these monocots. And let's look at the dicots. The dicots are flowering plants in which the embryo, an embryo that bears two cotyledons. So they have seed leaves. If you check, the difference between the monocot and the dicot is in the seed leaves. Okay, you see the other one bears the seed leaf, the other one, the dicot, bears seed leaves. Now finally, a more higher evolved group of forest trees is in the dicots. They are also termed as hardwoods. Their wood structures are complex, and each sort of broadleaf lumbers have characteristics properties that fit a particular use. In my subsequent video, we are going to be diving deeper into what these terms mean. But let's look at a picture I got from the internet that tried to differentiate the monocots and the dicots. To my left, the dicots, di means two, mono means one. So if you look at the cotyledon, for the one that is my left, the cotyledons are two. It has two cotyledons, while the monocot has only one cotyledon. In terms of their flowering plant parts, or the floral parts, if you look at the floral parts of most dicots, like 4 times or 5 times the flower parts, while that of monocot are less. Then 2 important things or 3 important things I want us to pay attention to are the leaf. If you see in the leaves of dicots, the dicots have veins, network-like veins. Okay, when you look at the leaf of dicots, they have network-like veins, while the leaves of the monocots have parallel veins. So the veins are just like straight lines. Okay, and when you look at the spore in the pollen grains, so in the pollen grains of the dicots, they have like 2 or 3 or more, 2 or more spores in the pollen grains, while that of the monocot has only 1 pore in its pollen grains. And if you look at the vascular structure, that of the dicot has a bundled vascular structure, while that of the monocot have sparse vascular structure. Then I also found this on the internet just to give us a better understanding of the monocot and the dicot. If you look at this, the monocot, by my left is the monocot. It has 2 leaves, okay, while the dicot grows a long single leaf. This is where we'll be drawing the curtain for this video on forests and forest trees. Okay, and if you've watched this video to this point and you've not subscribed to this channel, please click the plus button and subscribe, so that each time I drop a new video you'll get a notification. Also click the notification button and drop your comments so that we continue the conversation on the comment section. As usual, I hope that this lecture will open possible ways for researchers and industries to further study this field and make application. So, thank you for your audience, and we'll see in the next episode. I am Dr. Onyekachi Chukwu.